Motherfuckers talking about real Pooh shiesty have a career when he get out of jail. I mean, honestly, I feel his ass gonna have a career. Damn near everybody motherfucking get a little boost in their career once they get out of jail. Like, I ain't gonna cap to you. Motherfuckers know who the fuck 051 Kiddo is. Even motherfuckers in Chicago didn't know who Buddy Ass was unless you was in tour with his ass. Ain't nobody know about his ass with no rapping shit. And then as soon as he got out of jail, the nigga motherfucking got some clout. He doing interviews and all that shit just because his ass motherfucking was locked up for a good ass minute. So you being locked up, bro, if you use that shit right, your ass can most definitely stay famous as hell, like how you was. He could damn near be more famous than what he was. He could be more famous leaving jail than what he was coming in that bitch. On game. That's how that jail shit go. People like the bad shit more than the good on game.
Shit, multiple words. How you just describe yourself? Smooth or salami.
A judge denied bond for 21-year-old Lontrell Williams, known as Pooh Shiesty. Police say he was performing at King of Diamonds in Miami over Memorial Day weekend when cash was knocked out of his pocket. When the crowd tried to grab it, police say he showed off his gun, and while he...
You see the way his ass looking in this shit right here, you could tell his ass like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. His ass probably thinking his head, yep, I'm getting out of jail. I ain't worried. I'm finna bond out. This shit some little shit to me. And look, they got his goof ass. His ass sitting up in that bitch. Like, I ain't gonna capture you. Pooh Shiesty ass is really a fucking crash out on game. Like, his ass don't gotta be locked up. His ass is locked out because his ass is a certified tweaker.
He was being escorted out of the club. He fired a shot, hitting the guard in the ankle. He's been charged with aggravated.
You see, like, bro, fuck you firing a shot for? Knowing you in the states that you be in, bro. You gonna go to jail. You gonna go to jail, gang, and then you hit a security guard. Like, your ass is over with. Over with.
Aggravated battery.
Pleading guilty to a gun charge in Miami federal.
Pooh Shiesty was facing up to 8 years for that because he did take a plea, and today he was actually sentenced to 63 months in prison. For you slow ones.
Hey, yo, squad, what's the drill? Back with another video.
He was trying to say, for you slow ones. Shit, I didn't know how many years that was. I needed his ass to say it.
Man, you know Pooh Shiesty has had quite the past couple years. He went from being just another kid on the streets of Memphis to one of the biggest names in the hip-hop industry. His growth had everybody stunned, but then again, he also backed it all up with his insane skills. With it, he proved that he belonged on the Billboard charts, but then everything came plummeting down as his constant run-ins with the law caught up with him. Now, Pooh Shiesty is all set to spend 5 years behind bars. And well, there's a lot of chatter about how things will be when he gets out. In this video, we're going to be doing a complete rundown of what went down with Pooh Shiesty, how he ended up in prison, and how likely it is he will still have a career once he's out. So without further ado, let's skip the play and get down to business. Before we get into Pooh Shiesty's arrest and all, we have to dial it back to where the guy first popped off at. Pooh Shiesty was born Lontrell Donnell Williams Jr. on November 8, 1999. He was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and lived there for 16 years before momentarily moving to Texas. After spending 2 years in Texas, he realized that Memphis was where he ultimately belonged and decided to go back to his roots. Like many children that grew up on the streets of Memphis, Lontrell too fell into a life of crime. It was all too normal for him. He was out on the streets allegedly assaulting people at a very young age, but when you think about it, you could chalk it all up to the hard life on the streets. Get into that life of crime just because that's all they know. It's all they seen. The ones that make it out of this life tend to stay out of it. That's why there's so much focus on making it out of the streets, especially in today's world where you can actually get to have opportunities that will effectively pull you out of that hard life. That's exactly what happened with Lontrell. In early 2019, Lontrell took on the stage name Pooh Shiesty and released his first single called Hell Night featuring Big 30. Even though it was his first single, it got a lot of attention, encouraging Pooh to keep going and keep making music. The following year, he came out with his street hits like Shiesty Summer and ABCGE. These singles were enough to turn some important heads, one of which was Gucci Mane. Gucci thought that Pooh had the potential to make it big, so he signed him onto his record label 1017 Records, along with Atlantic Records in 2020. Just a few singles in, and
Gucci Man had the most bad luck ever when it come to motherfucking signing motherfuckers. Every motherfucker that his ass signed, damn near got is dead now or locked up for like crashing out on some shit. Gucci Man is a bad judge of character.
this guy was already with the big guys. He didn't just make it in and sit around on the bench. He was out there, front and center, for almost everything Gucci was releasing. It all started off with the song Still Remember, which really put Pooh Shiesty on the map for most people. With Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk, he shot into new levels of fame that people weren't really expecting from an artist that was so new. Because of all of that hard work he put in, he wasn't just an artist anymore. Gucci Mane literally considered him as his own little brother. It was clear that if Pooh kept doing what he was doing, he'd be an unstoppable force. He made it bigger than pretty much anyone that had come up in the last 2 year span. But that's the key here. He was supposed to keep going the way he was, but he didn't. He was still a man and loved waving a gun around even though he didn't need to. Everyone knows that Pooh Shiesty has already been a sneakerhead, but on October 13th, 2020, he was allegedly going to buy some high-end shoes from an exclusive reseller in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida.
You see, now that was what he finna talk about right here is the real crash out part right here. Like, nigga, why the fuck is you trying to rob motherfuckers? You rapping about you got all this money and shit. And you rap and you trying to rob motherfuckers for what, gang? That shit slow as hell.
Men's shoes can get fairly expensive, so it's not uncommon for people to want to score a good deal on them. It seems like that's what Pooh was trying to do. He and the seller agreed to meet outside the condo parking lot to figure the deal out. Pooh got out the car, and a few minutes later, the men at the scene broke into absolute chaos. There was gunfire, and shortly after, the men dispersed, and Pooh, along with his crew, fled the scene. When the cops got there, they found 2 men that had been shot and had to be taken to the hospital immediately. The main problem here was the fact that at this point, the cops didn't know who the person that shot the men and ran away was. That's because Pooh and his crew came in a rented car, so it wasn't that easy to trace it back immediately. They had to get the information from the rental company on who had given him the very unique highlighter green car. It was confirmed later on that the rapper did in fact rent the car and that he was the one that allegedly shot the men. One of the biggest identifiers here was the fact that as Pooh ran away, he dropped a bag full of $40,000, but that part...
How the fuck you motherfucking trying to go rob a motherfucker and you drop the fucking money? You lose money trying to go rob motherfuckers. That's what I'm saying, bro. These niggas be doing shit for no reason, bro. No reason. They don't be having no real reason to do certain shit except for an image.
Really wasn't visible in the security footage they found of the whole event. So how did the authorities figure out who did it? Well, they analyzed the individual bank notes and then compared them to the notes Pooh had been flexing on his Instagram. The serial number on the notes matched, and since he had also posted a lot of pictures with the car he had rented, it was clear that the information the cops were getting was correct, and it was Pooh on the scene, and it was him that ran away after shooting the 2 men. After identification was confirmed, Pooh was arrested, but had his own story ready to go. He told the cops that he just went to get the shoes, but the men tried to steal the money he had brought instead, and then they shot the first bullet. He was only acting in self-defense when he shot them back. In the panic of it all, he dropped the bag and fled for his life, not just the scene of the crime. That didn't really end up going over so well, though, and he was still charged for the armed robbery along with aggravated battery with a weapon, plus aggravated assault with a firearm and petty theft for the shootout. However, he was released from custody that same day. You'd think that Pooh would thank his lucky stars at this point and not even come close to guns with the 10-foot pole. But that's not how things went. He just can't get away from the straps, man. Less than a year after the initial arrest, Pooh was arrested again, and this time because of something insanely stupid. While performing at a nightclub in Northwest Miami-Dade, Pooh started waving his gun around. He was doing so as a part of his act, but it didn't really go over well with the guards on the scene.
You see, what the fuck? And then if it's a real gun, nigga, why the fuck is you flashing around holding a real gun? I mean, why is you showing the whole world you got a real gun up on you, bro? And you a felon, nigga. These niggas just be slow. They be thinking they untouchable because they got money from this fame shit.
Scene because you're not supposed to be doing that. When they came over and told him to put the gun away, he refused and started waving the gun in their faces instead. All of that went a little too far, and after the guards had it with Pooh, things escalated and Pooh ended up shooting one of the guards allegedly. There was a few conflicting stories floating around at this point. Some said that Pooh was robbed on stage, that someone had taken money right out of his pocket. The number we're talking about here is around $40,000, but Pooh denied that on his Instagram story. Regardless, he did shoot a guard and had to be arrested for it anyway. He was escorted out of the club and handed over to the authorities, who arrested him and took him into custody. Now things got a little shady here too. For starters, the guard that was shot, at first he was very clear about everything that happened. He said that Pooh shot him while flailing wads of...
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna cut to you. That guard ass was tweaking too. His ass, motherfucking low key, probably was lying on Pooh shiesty.
Cash around, but a few hours after Pooh's arrest, he miraculously forgot everything and couldn't clearly remember what happened, rendering his initial statement as useless. Normally, when this happens, the person that's arrested gets to make it out of the whole ordeal scot-free, but that's not what happened with Pooh. He was held in jail, and then he saw the judge for his case, and the bond was set at $10,000.
Entitled to a bond, the standard bond is $10,000, and that's what I'm setting. The $10,000 bond with the hold for the division judge. Case number, hold him for case number F20-14135B. And you'll see your judge tomorrow, 9 a.m. All right?
Thank you.
And he was supposed to see another judge for his pending Miami shootout case as well. Everyone thought he'd be out in minutes because that's what happened last time for the same case. But this time things didn't go his way like they had months before leading up to this. When he saw the judge, seeing that he had just gone from waving his gun around shooting one person to the next, there had to be serious consequences. On July 8th, 2021, judge ordered that Pooh shiesty be held without bond for the case pending trial. Even at that point, everybody thought he'd make it out of the whole thing once the case wrapped up, but that didn't happen either. On January 4th, 2022, he pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy charges, and he was looking at spending 8 years in prison. However, when it came to sentencing 4 months later, he got 63 months instead, which is 5 years and 3 months. This was a pretty shocking turn of events to...
Oh, and hey, I ain't gonna cut to you. Pooh shiesty still gonna be young when his ass get out. I ain't gonna cut to you because his ass like 22, 23. Now his ass older than me. Well, his ass like 23 or whatever the fuck. His ass ain't gonna be that old. His ass still gonna be in his 20s when he get out.
Say the least, because of the way he had been weaseling his way out of the trouble for the past couple years. But then again, if you do the crime, you have to do the time at some point. The question that lies in front of us now is what's going to happen to Pooh shiesty's career when he gets out. Well, with the era of technology, there's a lot that one can do to keep their career going while locked up. Pooh announced that he's going to be dropping a mixtape with a lot of major artists. It's likely that it's just material that was unused from his earlier releases being mixed in with stuff from other rappers. But not only that, but he's had an NFT drop with Web3.
His ass just gotta do some shit with motherfucking Lil Durk. Him and Lil Durk do a little joint album or some collab shit. Motherfuckers will listen to that.
Streetwear brand Smiles too. That alone will keep him relevant for the next year or two. Granted, he stays on his best behavior, he'll definitely be home a couple years early. But if he doesn't, and the world moves on without him, chances are he might not be able to stay relevant enough because of how short his career actually was. But all that depends on what he's like when he's out and the industry he returns to. It's possible that he might just be...
Nah, honestly, I feel Gang gonna be able to do it. Like, he wasn't out for long, but I feel like that Back in Blood, that shit did some shit, like, to be able to hold some weight for him. I feel Pooh shiesty most definitely gonna be able to come back. Like I said, jail be making motherfuckers more famous and shit. It's situations where motherfuckers wasn't even known, and now they known because they got locked up. Like, what type of crazy shit is that? But I don't even know, man. But I ain't gonna cap to y'all, man. I'm going in and out of sleep right now. So I'm finna take a nap real fast and I'm finna get back up. Shout out to Insider Hotspot, and I'm finna hop back online in a second.